Now, many genealogists are skeptical of generative AI, and for good reason. It can make mistakes, fabricate information, and never gives the same answer twice. And some researchers worry that will make them lazy, relying on AI to do the heavy lifting instead of conducting the real research. In fact, I created a video about immigration that used ChatGPT a few weeks ago, and I had a lot of replies and comments about not using generative AI as part of research. Now, I don't see it that way. As used correctly, generative AI should make you a better genealogist, not a lazy one. It'll allow us to focus on analysis, interpretation, and looking at insights. Hi, I'm John Beaumont, and in this video I'll walk you through 10 powerful ways to use generative AI while still ensuring your research remains original and well documented, and more importantly, your own words and your own voice. The key, always verify and validate AI generated output. And I will not be looking at writing things necessarily in this. This is obviously a big subject that people get onto generative AI about allowing it to write stories. We won't cover that at all. All the prompts I'll share are simple instructions, but if you want to take it further, add this to the end of your prompt. And I'll put it up here. In order to produce the best output, you may ask me questions. Ask me one question at a time. Ask me the first question. This ensures that your prompt, if it's missing key details, AI will prompt you for more information, helping you refine the results. So without delay, let's go and look at 10 use cases and walk you through the way generative AI can help your research. Now, there are a number of generative AI systems around. I prefer to use ChatGPT, but that's just a preference. The output you will get pretty much from any generative AI is very, very similar, but you will get used to using them. They all have the different quirks. Now, when I'm uploading a document or visualizing a document, I'll be using the paid version of ChatGPT. But if there's no documents involved, then this is the free version. If you do choose to pay for ChatGPT or generative AI, they're all about $20 a month. It's best to just save up all the work you want to do and then do it in one fell swoop. Pay your $20, use it for a month, and then switch it off. So let's look at the 10 different use cases, and we'll go through my different chats here. I've recorded the chats already to make it a little bit easier. So one of the first things a lot of people do is use generative AI to take notes. So this is when I was looking at generative AI over a year ago. This is one of the notes I made. I just scribbled it on a piece of paper and not very well laid out. And this is the kind of thing you'd normally do as part of research as well. So I basically uploaded this to ChatGPT using this little plus key here. And I just said simply, please transcribe these notes, ranking generative AI tools, very simply. And then it actually generates that. So as you can see from generative AI, just copying down your notes, taking your notes off a whiteboard, or if you're in a library making notes, this isn't immensely useful. You just take a picture with your phone, and then you can have this, and you can just copy this to a document. So that's one good way of using it. Now we can move that on a little bit further. And this is a document that is part of my research here. And it is a trench, it's warfare notes. It's a notes of a battalion. You can see this is fully cited here at the bottom, and I've put this in part of my research. So basically, I've said very simply, I have this document, please transcribe it and identify what it is. Now, the output will never be 100%, or very rarely will it be 100%, but it will get you on the right track. And this is what we use in ChatGPT and generative AI for. Let's get us on the right track. Let's do 80% of the work and let us do, as genealogists, all the heavy lifting at the end. So I just said simply, I have this document, please transcribe it. And it does a pretty good job of transcribing it. And you can see on the night of 21, 22, the end, and it's transcribed it. Now, generative AI does often have issues with cursive, but this has done a particularly good job. And it's identified the document. It's identified the document from the citation I had at the bottom. And it actually told me where I assessed it. So if we're just taking a picture of this in a library, now we've got identification of document and transcription. And you can see here, it said, would you like further historical context or analysis of this event? And I replied, yes, please, what is the context? So as you can see, generative AI is a conversation. It's not instructions, it's a conversation. And now I get a context of the document, a German translated 1916. Now, I have to read this very carefully to make sure that it's factually correct, and at the end I can ask for references. But this gives me an idea of what's going on. This gives me a starting point, what's going on. And it's got this information from the notes I've given it, and also from different references that are online. And then some final thoughts here. So you can see a lot of information, a lot of things for me to think about. So what we're seeing is ChatGPT is giving me things to think about, things to go and look for further research. It's not doing the research for me. It's giving me more things to think about. And then we can keep on going. So here's something we often face as genealogists. Here's a document and it's in a different language. And simply, again, I take a picture of this or download it. This is downloaded from Family Search. And I can ask ChatGPT, please, again, look at these prompts. They're very simple prompts. I'm not giving it a lot of information. Please identify, translate, and transcribe this document. So very simple prompt here. And then it has an issue. It might go through a couple of iterations because it's using optical character reading to find out what's going on. And then here's the information, the translation, and it's a pretty good translation. And then it analyzes the document for me. Now, again, as a genealogist, I take this as a hint. I go and do my research. But again, it's given me a lot better ways to start off. I'm not starting off blank. I've got things to look at. And I can do the kind of, would you like more help interpreting this document? And again, conversation, yes, please give me further details. And it does some more analysis. So this is, again, I'm looking at a document written in a foreign language, and it gives me a number of things going on. And I can keep this conversation going, or I can actually go back to the conversation if I find something else and give it more information. And we'll keep going through these use cases pretty quickly. Here's a document that I wrote. It's a proof case, and I'll just bring it up on the screen here. It's a proof argument. As you can see, it's fairly detailed as a proof argument. And all I've done is we go back to ChatGPT's, please summarize the attached document. And it's summary. I wrote this, and the summary it is very good, a very good summary, and goes through my evidence and my hypothesis of this proof statement, and it concludes and then summarizes it. I've asked, first of all, it was a little longer. Could you make the summary even shorter? And here's a summary. Again, that's my own work. It's not made any work for me. It's just summarized a document that I wrote. And this is the power of ChatGPT. I can do the work, but it would take me a lot of time to summarize my documents, my work. And this does it for me. Still my work. Still the things that I produced. And then we can do help with a narrative. So again, I look at the same document, this proof argument. And again, this is a fairly formal document, which you can see from all the citations. So what if I wanted to turn this into a story? Again, this is my work, this is my research. I'm not asking ChatGPT or Generative AI to do any research for me. But what I'm going to do is ask it to turn it into a story that I can share with my relatives. I wouldn't want to share a document that is very formal like this. So here's the prompt. Please transform this report into a story I can share with my family. Please retain my voice, but make it easy to read for someone with little or no genealogical background. I would like this story to be interesting and easy to read. So that's key, really. Please retain my voice. So it's going to keep the tone and the detail that I've already put in, and it's going to create a story. And this is where, with the stories, you probably need to go through a couple of iterations, but look at this as maybe 70% of the work. Now you can go in and clean it up. Again, it's your work. It's your research, but you've just been asked ChatGPT to put it together in a little bit of a different way for you. And I will create a link to some of these documents. I'll put it on my website and let you see exactly how all this came together. But it's a nice little story now. So it's changed that dry report into a very nice little story for me to pass to my relatives. So we've done this, and then creating a research plan. Now, this is a wonderful thing to do to help if you're looking at a research plan. And this is a little bit more of a complex prompt. So the more information I give to generative AI, the more fuller, if you like, or the more contextual the response will be. So here's a prompt, and it's a fairly long one, but it's a fairly typical one. We can give a lot more information, and actually I could upload a document here as well. I'm researching my great-grandfather, Anthony Lopez, who was born around 1860 and immigrated to the US around 1880. We believe he came from Genoa, Italy, but we are uncertain where he landed. He married Alicia Rossi, an Italian woman in Albany, New York in 1882. He died in 1920. Given his Spanish surname, I would like to explore whether his name was changed or recorded differently. I want to start with free online resources and later explore paid options and any specialist sites for Italian migration. Help me create a step-by-step research plan to find records for his immigration, naturalization, origins. So sorry about me walking all the way through it, but it's important to see the kind of prompt I have there. And then it creates a step-by-step guide. Now what it does is, again, this is just the 80% the starting point. I can blow this out now to a more detail. I can download it to a document, but it does include where I can go and look. And it's actually noted pretty impressively that Family Search and Ancestry are free at libraries. And Family Search is free everywhere, but many of the documents are only available at libraries or at NARA. So it goes through marriage records, death and burial records, and then immigration records. And here, look, it's giving me where to look as part of the plan. Now, it won't have everything, I don't think, but it gets me 80% of there. I can now take this as my draft research plan and work it up into a true research plan that I want to use. Or I can tell ChatGPT to add things in. And look, we have some Italian websites here and some family search things. So organizing and reviewing, and now it can tell me to actually the Facebook pages or Genoa specific forums, which, believe it or not, I wouldn't have known that was available. And then it can create a spreadsheet or document to track the research. So again, it's 80%. It's a drudgery work. Creating a research plan takes a lot of time. I want to concentrate on all the detail. I don't want to concentrate on the generic stuff. So here's the generic stuff being produced by generative AI. And let's keep on going. So let's do check and review work. So again, I do a lot of proof statements. So I produced a report for client, and you can see here it is. It's a typical client I produced, client produced work where I've been asked to do something for a client. And before I give it to the client, I can ask ChatGPT to review it for me to make sure I haven't made any errors. So let's go back to ChatGPT. I produced this report for a client. So again, it's my own work. Please check for ambiguities and errors. Please suggest any improvements that could be made to make this report even more valuable to the client. So again, it's my own work, but it's like giving this to an editor and saying, how can we look at this in a better way? Is there anything I need to look at? And it goes through a review and maybe some ambiguities and unclear report date, research question scope, and some things. Again, I'm going to do the work here, but it's pointing out to things that I could do in a better way to give more value to my client. And why wouldn't we want to do that? Why wouldn't we want to give our clients or even our own research, make it as best as possible? So I've made some mistakes here. The length of the marriage was 26 years, conflicts with a period from the marriage until Elizabeth's death, 22 years. So somewhere through that report, I've made a mistake and got two marriage lengths that are different. And now I can go back and check that in the report. I probably would have missed that. And it goes through all the different things, how to improve report value. Now I can take this or leave it. But it really will help me give better value to my work that I'm actually giving to a client. And by the way, I will always put on the client. I will not cite ChatGPT because this is all my own work, citations, but I will put on the report produced with the assistance of ChatGPT. So I'm being fair to the customer to know that we've used this as part of our research. So let's go back to the documents here. So this is something we all have, brick walls. So again, I can just type in notes that I've made. And this is some brief notes. You can see it's just document a bunch of notes that I have, and I can upload this. Going back to ChatGPT, I can upload this by using the plus sign, and I can say, okay, I've hit a brick wall. My research of James Beaumont, born approximately 1823. These are my notes. I cannot find him earlier in 1841. Please suggest a strategy that I could take to overcome the brick wall. And again, some good ideas. Investigate this family. We're always talking about the fan club, the friends, association, neighbors. Well, this is Generative AI saying, well, he's in a different house here. Investigate this family, expand the research here. I may have done all this, and I can go back and say, well, I've done this already, and have the conversation. But these are some really neat things that I can go and look at. And then I'm interested in looking at checking poor law. That's one of the things it's suggested. And I can say, please give me more details on 5 and suggest where I can find sources. So here we go. It's gone through and expanded number 5 about poor law and where to find the records. And believe me, I've been there a few times online, but it's going through all the different areas. So again, it's not doing the work for me, it's helping me be a better genealogist. And in the next steps, and I can document this or ask it to write it into a case study. And then let's do 2 more. I don't want to make this a really long video. I'm going through a lot of case studies in a really quick way, so you can just see what it can do. Provide historical context. Now, this is pretty neat. My great-grandparents, Michael and Anna O'Donnell, came from the US, from Cork Island. They arrived in Philadelphia and settled in Phoenixville. I believe Michael worked in a steel mill as a laborer. Could you give me the social context of Irish immigrants in this area around 1890? Would they have faced discrimination? Now, this is something I'd love to put in part of my genealogical research, which is the social conditions. Now, again, with anything, I've been hitting this on the head all the way through. You need to verify and validate, but again, it takes you 80% and gives you areas you can expand your research. So it goes through Irish immigration, what's going on in Phoenixville. I know all this to be true because I've done some research in this area. What about discrimination by the Irish? I've found this in many of my research quests, if you like. And then it talks about some of the churches I could go to and a bunch of different things. And here we go. Instead of taking ChatGPT's word for it, I can go here and go, could you suggest further reading for me to get a deeper understanding of the Irish experience in Philadelphia area at this time? And now I can get some books, or some articles and essays and some historical documents. So this is ChatGPT actually pointing me to sources I can do, and actually I think the sources will be here. If I click on here, there's the sources here on the right hand side. Okay, so if I wish to go to the sources here, it's here on this little icon here, and most generative AI systems will give you sources that they use. Then finally, I don't use ChatGPT for DNA very often, but I know it can be used. And if you've got a casual question, we can put it in. And this is from somebody I know. This is a question they posed. We have unknown parents, a parent event for the father of one of our grandfathers, Isaac Brook Bond, blah, blah. We'll go through all that again. And basically the same, can we use DNA? And the answer is yes, DNA can help determine, and it'll tell you how to triangulate, how to check it, how to test descendants, blah, blah. So it gives, again, a case study, if you like, in how to put a plan together to resolve this DNA question. Okay. And again, I wouldn't you remember there's privacy here. I've changed names. So I would never put anything I was worried about keeping secure from a privacy point of view on any of the generative AI anyway. So, but use it for casual questions. So that's 10 different ways of using generative AI, in this case, ChatGPT, in your research. And I've kind of cruised through these really, really quickly. So I hope they've been helpful. And please put any comments down. There's many other ways you can use generative AI, but I want to try and get the skeptics especially to use generative AI as part of their research, because it's going to be a fundamental tool that everybody uses, and we may as well take advantage of it. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. Again, if you have, give me 2 thumbs up, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. It really helps a small genealogy channel like mine. And good luck with research, and good luck with using generative AI. It's the best tool out there, believe me.